Have a good battle, friend.
And now, Jocelyn, let's talk about something that's extremely new, pressing, and hot off the presses. That I did a terrible job there. I put pressing after hot off the presses.
Bad.
But it's the roadmap that was shown at the beginning of the year. The beginning of the standard year. Anyway, maybe not the beginning of the actual year. But
we're really on top of things, you guys.
It's a quiet week, and there are some icons on this icon-filled roadmap that still haven't been fulfilled from phase 1. And it doesn't put dates, but I would assume we would be pretty damn close to phase 1 being over by now. So folks at home, if you don't remember the roadmap or you want to follow along, it was on the official site in the Welcome to the Year of the Phoenix post on the official Hearthstone website, all the way back on March 17th, which feels like another 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But they put up a roadmap. This was alongside the announcement of Ashes of Outland and Demon Hunter coming and the ladder restructure and free decks and free Demon Hunter cards.
There was a lot to talk about at the time.
Yes. And that's worth reminding everyone of, because if you look at phase 2, which is really the focus of our discussion today, it looks sparse compared to phase 1. But phase 1 includes things like Demon Hunter class, ladder revamp, free decks, new Demon Hunter cards. They really, anything they could possibly come up with an excuse to make an icon for, they made an icon for it. And a lot of those things are not things that we would expect to repeat, right? We're not expecting Demon Hunter class to release a second time. So yeah. As we go through this, the first thing I want to bring up was, before we kind of take a look at phase 2 is phase 1, is that there are still 2 icons they haven't gotten to yet, which is the seasonal event and the adventure. Those are the 2 icons that they haven't gotten to yet. The seasonal events are odd in Hearthstone. The only one we get with any regularity is the Fire Festival.
Yeah, we kind of get a little bit of Hallow's End and a little bit of Winter Veil at Christmas, but it's usually just play a couple games, there's a quest, and you'll get a card, or sorry, not a card, a card back. But with the Fire Festival, they have done, weeks long events through July. And I always really appreciate that content, because historically, the summer is a very slow time for gaming. So when a game that I play, almost daily does something new and fun to kind of put themselves over the top in that time when everything else is kind of slowing down anyways, it's always just a really, really fun, really nice treat, I guess, in a traditionally slow time. So I like the Fire Festival quite a lot.
Yeah, and it really, I want to say it was last year that it became this multi-week spanning thing, right? Well, I guess in 2018 it went from July 16th to the 30th and July 5th to the 19th all the way back in 2017. But last year they tied it in with the whole year-long expansion. They tied it to their
theme.
Because
with their big festival. We're telling a story. Yeah, we're telling a story. Yeah.
In reality, I like to think that internally they went, oh, geez, the real life Fire Festival was a shit show. We do not want to be associated with it. How can we? Oh, you know what? We've got the League of Evil. Let's make a pun. That's a dramatic retelling of exactly how it happened. These are facts, people.
Yep.
These are facts. But yeah, it's kind of it, right? Because we've had Hallow's End before, but it was once, and I think it was the first year of Hearthstone. And last year we had an event around Halloween time, Doom in the Tomb, but that was a one-off. That was very specifically something that was themed around what was happening in the year-long story arc that they were telling. So,
right, and that was part of the meta that you hated with everything that you were.
I love that event, though. I still stand by that. I think that was one of the coolest events they've ever done. Putting wild cards back in standard for a limited time was super rad. I just want my cake and eat it too. Take one of those cards out if they are completely dominating the meta and causing staleness, which is exactly what Evolve did. But thank you for getting me off on that rant again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're just like a toy monkey. You wound me up and pointed me at Evolve.
That's obvi why I'm here.
Editor's note. Before the show, Jocelyn said obvi, and I went off on her because I hate it. I hate it so much, listeners. And she's like, oh, wonderful. I'm going to slip into the show. And there it is. There it is. I still hate it. I hate it with everything that I am. The other one that's just odd is the adventure. Like, how is it so late? Like, I realize, with Battlegrounds and things like the Tavern Pass, we've got new, I would argue, more exciting things to promote and to monetize. But this seems late at this point for the adventure.
Yeah, and I kind of struggle with calling anything late this year because we are obviously dealing with things that are just total crazy, out of the ordinary situations. And we have been basically since this expansion released, right? So, I mean, they've had to transition to working from home. There's been all kinds of upheaval from coronavirus. And I don't want to say like, oh, come on, Blizz, like you're super late. Let's go. Because I'm sure that they are, trying to get it in our hands. It just, may or may not actually be ready. But we are absolutely due for the adventure. It's kind of odd that we don't even have like a name or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of weirdly hoping for like another stab at dungeon runs because I really like where they left it. I thought it was evolving in an interesting and meaningful way, which was my critique of like the first 3 dungeon runs. Like they were kind of the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have like no idea what to expect at this point. But let's look at phase 2 because phase 2, that's where we could start to theorize about the future of Hearthstone. But first, let's knock most of these icons off the list right now in what I'm calling the no duh section of the roadmap because it starts with a card expansion. Of course,
duh.
Of course, right? So card expansion, card mechanics, which like I know we're trying to be nice. Why is this an icon? This is card expansion. Why does card mechanics get its own damn thing? Like, just put it under card expansion. Tavern Brawls.
Because icons are pretty.
Tavern Brawls, cool. They're not really limited by phases. They're kind of a thing that never ends. They just continue in perpetuity. Battlegrounds, same thing. Although we do get major Battlegrounds updates around expansion time. So that, it earns its icon spot, but it's a known quantity. Seasonal event, known quantity. We kind of expect one. We don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. I guess phase 2 would be starting if we're going by previous years. We're assuming an August release of an expansion, right? So that seasonal event would probably be like Hallow's End would fall in phase 2, and then assuming we get a card expansion in like December, then that seasonal event I would assume would be Winter Veil. I'm guessing. Because there isn't really like the other thing I guess it could be if it's not Winter Veil would be something along the lines of like Easter with Noble Garden in phase 3. Because phase 3 is always really long, right?
Yeah. Well, because phase 3 would be the end of the year.
Or it feels long.
Well,
yeah,
but also
the last expansion and
technically into 2021, really, with the way that
exactly,
you're right.
Yeah.
So. But I can't imagine
this would take us to like April of next year, basically.
Yeah. No, I would assume the phase 2 seasonal event would be whatever Doom in the Tomb / Halloween-esque. So the fall event, whatever they end up making it, that's what the seasonal event in here is going to be. But again, kind of a known quantity. Even if the seasonal events are not necessarily consistent in their theming, we do kind of expect them. Balance update, known quantity. And in fact, if they were putting an icon for each individual balance update, there should have been a lot more in phase 1.
Well, it does say balance updates plural, so they're just committing to balancing the game, which again, icons why.
Yeah, so basically every icon in phase 2 is like a known quantity. We're used to these types of updates in Hearthstone. Not to look down on them at all. These are all exciting things that I love when they come around. So the only kind of big new thing literally has new in the title. There is an icon for a new game mode.
Yeah, and this The only thing that we know for sure in this new game mode is it's not going to be like Battlegrounds. It is going to pull from your collection. And they did confirm that it's going to be your whole collection. So older cards, wild cards, standard cards, everything is going to come into play in this new game mode. I don't have any ideas.
I am going to go full tinfoil hat mode for a second because the new game director, Ben Lee, did give a quote saying the new game mode coming later this year will allow you to use cards from older and newer sets. That doesn't necessarily mean your entire collection all at once. It could be
true
curated segments, sort of like what Arena deals in. But if it's using our collection, then yeah, we would assume it's some sort of constructed way to play Hearthstone,
you're going to be
but we don't know.
Putting something together.
Exactly. You know, I think Hearthstone, they tend to keep things a lot more straightforward, a lot more curated. So I'm wondering.
I'm struggling to figure out what they could do that would be all that much different unless they're going to take like a tavern brawl and make it permanent. Like if it's something that we've played in a tavern brawl in a constructed tavern brawl in the past, like maybe heroic tavern brawl, like is this something we're just going to always have available now? And if that's the case, is there going to be a wild version and a standard version, or is it something even crazier outside the box that maybe every week we've got a game mode that we play that has different rules like popper mode or, you know, like no legendaries allowed. I don't know.
I am so optimistically hyped for whatever that new game mode is because I have the most trust in Team 5 I've had since Hearthstone's release because they have just consistently surprised and exceeded my expectations in the last year. They've been doing a really good job. So whatever it is, even though I'm really struggling to racking my brain to figure out what the hell it is. I just want to see it because I think whatever it is, if they're excited enough about it to call it a new mode and bring it to the game, I think it will be solid because the last time they did this, it was Battlegrounds and I freaking love it. And then, of course, there's also one more icon that just says spell locked, which is just a cheeky way of them saying, we're not going to tease what this is. There's going to be one more notable thing, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And I'm just like, what do I even do with that information?
Yeah. And so the adventure icon is missing. So does that mean that maybe that is the single player content? Like there's nothing being shown or teased that they're going to put out with the next expansion, which seems very, very odd to me, although maybe the new game mode fills that gap. I don't know. Like, what if the new game mode is single player?
I don't know.
I was like, is he going to say anything? Should I fill the silence?
I'm just
or let him think?
I'm just thinking that, and it's insane, and someone's going to go make a supercut of all the times I've said Hearthstone can handle multiple game modes. But with Battlegrounds, Hearthstone's got a healthy number of infinitely replayable game modes. So what is the future of single player?
Well, Elvix in the chat room is suggesting Slay the Spire, which is quite popular with Hearthstone players and streamers right now. And I haven't really played it, but my husband has played a lot of it, and it looks interesting. It's using cards to deal damage to enemies as you work your way up through a kind of gauntlet.
It's basically a much more robust version of Dungeon Run.
Yeah.
It's very much cut from that cloth. It's just where Dungeon Run might be like a really fun pair of shorts. Slay the Spire is like a 3-piece suit. I stand by that. I think Dungeon Run could have been like its own button that just was updated over time instead of Witchwood has its own Dungeon Run, and Rossagon's Rumble has its own Dungeon Run, and Dalaran Heist, and so on and so forth, even though Dalaran Heist was amazing and actually did something to move the mode forward. But yeah, who knows? But new game mode is one of the icons. I don't think that's what that spell locked is going to be. I really don't. What if it's a more robust spectator client?
What if?
What? Although they didn't put reorganizing decks as an icon in phase 1, which, frankly, how fast and loose they're being with what deserves an icon, I'm surprised they didn't get one.
Yeah. Now, there are also 3 spell locks in phase 3, because what I was going to say when you were talking about a revamped spectator client, I was going to say, what about the T mode? Are we even at the point now? It's been years since its cancellation. Are we at the point now that we think that maybe they're revisiting that idea?
No.
Okay, just throwing it out there. I don't know what these spell locked things are, but that's one potentially hidden that they wouldn't want to get us too hyped about, just in case, like, in case something goes sideways again.
Listen, this isn't an improv podcast. I don't have to say yes and to everything. They couldn't have squashed my hope for that any more than they already have.
Okay.
So my please take my terse reaction as a salvo fired at Team 5 and not a you. Hypothetical. I think we've got one more class. Maybe class bans on ladder, huh? Maybe that's a thing. Maybe I'm just really sick
now you're getting my hopes up, Garrett.
Oh, you're bringing up tournament mode, something they have actually dangled in front of us and taken away.
Oh, you almost had it. You got to be quicker than that.
And you're gonna look at the potential of ladder bans. I don't know. I'm playing other games where they let you veto certain things, and I don't think I'm coming back around on the idea of a class ban. I don't think it would be as stifling as we once feared it would be. So.
One thing we are getting, which is interesting in phase 3, is achievements and progression. So this is something that they had talked about. I kind of thought we would be getting it more along the lines of like phase 2, like after all the dust cleared from Demon Hunters. But I am still excited to have achievements and something that's a little bit more like meaningful to work towards than just level 60 because.
I personally... I'm curious what progression means, but I've never been a big achievements fan myself.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm such an achievement completionist type person.
Stand when I'm playing one of the greatest single player experiences of my life, and you can throw a dart at Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption or God of War. The new one, the first 3 are fun, but they're nothing compared to the new one in terms of a single player experience. And a little ding, you did this, and I'm like, I don't give a shit, PlayStation. Could you please stop taking me out of this extremely dramatic moment? Now, this is Hearthstone, much more gamified. I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, what is Reno gonna do next? I do love Reno, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't pull me in like the most recent God of War did. So like, at least it's not gonna be intrusive, but really I've just never been an achievement chaser. It's never been something that has really motivated me to go and do something in a game unless it has a pretty rockin' reward at the other end. And so at the end of the day, like to me, that's just progression. Like if it happens to be attached to an achievement system, I don't care. I'm trying to progress to get the thing that I want. I don't give a crap about achievements individually.